Hello, my name is Vicki Griffin, and I'm going to do my video presentation on emotion regulation. I have watched the video with Dr. James Gross, and the first point that I'd like to make is how Dr. Gross became interested in his research on emotion regulation, and he stated that he has been interested in emotion for as long as he can remember. Academically, he has had a long-standing interest in philosophy, where there is a rich history of questions around the role of reason as opposed to passion guiding the behavior. As an undergraduate at Yale, after writing many papers, Gross became to the understanding that the core of his interest was when interest should be in control as opposed to passion, to include emotions. This laid the foundation for his empirical study in psychology to understand exactly how to balance the two. The new discoveries in this, first, he kind of led us to understand what he was talking about as far as emotions as opposed to emotional regulation, and he used the illustration of anger, such as when we become angry at our spouse or at a child, and the feeling of anger builds in us, and we feel it, and we start to express that on our face with the facial expressions that we had studied in this particular course. And he stated that we should begin to feel how we should deal with that particular emotion, how we should respond to the feeling of that anger. That is exactly where his studies and where his work lies, is in the dealing with and relating to those emotions. Uh, he said that they are trying to map that to make the distinction between the emotion and the regulation of that emotion. Um, Gross has distinguished between 5 families of regulatory processes from the very early efforts of intervention, which would be a young child, and we have read about where we should, in a young child, begin to name emotions so they will understand exactly how they are feeling and maybe how to deal with that emotion as a young person, and that would help them over the lifespan, and later interventions. Gross believes that there will be a lot of changes, in that space, uh, in the emotional regulation change. There are other questions that need to be approached, including how people regulate their emotions and what their goals are as far as what their regulation. There are also more sophisticated procedures for better understanding persons with various types of brain damage that can change their emotions. Maybe a person who has been pretty laid back suffers a brain damage injury and they become violent, that kind of a thing that they're studying. For the healthier person, better understanding the roles of brain systems through inactivation procedures such as transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, as he explains. What are the future directions of emotion regulation? He explained that the process model of emotion regulation is really meant to be the framework of work, which we can expand, and it's a constantly evolving type of a work that we can be involved with. And it modifies constantly and change in emotions over time and in contextual assignments and in people. It can be a useful tool in drawing attention to ways we can all usefully try to change the trajectory of the emotion by modifying the way the emotion affects the person. There will be a mix of advances to include theoretical aspects as we better understand how people regulate their emotion and broaden our view to understand not only what people are trying to do, but also why people are trying to regulate the emotional trajectory. What is his advice to new scholars? Gross says that he would advise students that there's a great opportunity here and a very large number of problems to tackle. Students are able to link effective processes to their interest, ranging from developmental, clinical, health, psychology, any interest they have to effective processes. My reflection that this was a very insightful and informative video. I agree with the concepts presented. I believe that we can regulate our emotions once we believe that we can recognize and know the emotion that we're experiencing. Dr. Kirk's lecture on emotional management is relative, as was the last lecture that she gave on mindful meditation. That is extremely implicative and extremely useful in recognizing on a daily basis, gaining that experience in mindful meditation so we can recognize and respond correctly to the emotions that we have. Thanks a lot. This has been a great class. I've enjoyed it. Hope you all have all my days. Thanks.